Hey, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Coaching from the Couch. This is your Washington Commanders update. And I am your host, Candi CWall, checking in as I do each and every single week to give you the latest and greatest information on the Washington Commanders. This is a Bowie television live recording. I have no idea. I'm assuming it's Monday. I have no idea what time it is. But anyway, but this is a live Bowie television recording. Everything we say and do here will also be on Bowie TV. If you're in the Prince George's County, Maryland area, you can find us on Comcast channels 190 and 1097. Hopefully you are subscribed watching this stream on YouTube. I hope you are subscribed to the Bowie TV channel, or maybe you're watching it on Facebook. Either way, I certainly hope that you all are sharing this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. I definitely see that, yes, Eric Justin was first on the stream. I see that Cameron Mingo says it is his birthday. Happy birthday to you. I'm seeing loads of other comments coming in, you all. So keep the comments coming. Make sure you all pause to say happy birthday to Mama Waller. Her birthday is coming up. It is October the 7th. It's a lot of October birthdays. So make sure you all say hello and happy birthday to her. And it's so much already going on. I always have family members that pop on. So this is my Aunt Miranda. So you all listen, when it's live, anything can happen. Everybody can come and everyone can enjoy the conversation. Victory Monday. Shout out to the Washington Commanders fans that traveled to LA. You all were tremendous. Heard you all loud and clear. Every time anything went on, heard you all loud and clear in the stadium. Definitely drop your one word to share how you were feeling when the Commanders went ahead and sealed the deal in the Washington Commanders win against the LA Chargers. You all definitely, it was a good day. It was a good day. It was a good day weather-wise, all of the things. It was a lot of fun. Cameron Mingo says that he was energized. I still see the birthday comments coming in for Mama Waller. Certainly continue to drop on in the chat your one word to how you felt about that win. Tina Moore says that she was excited. Listen, it was a lot to be excited about. It really was. The game started out a little shaky, but hey, they made it work. And they came out with the W. While it's not a conference win, a division win, let's be clear, a win is a win, and the Washington Commanders really, really needed it. I know this was also something that I'm sure the LA Chargers felt like they needed as well, especially being at home. But guess what? Jaden Daniels and Bobby Wagner and so many others were home as well. And so they brought that energy and that look and feel to the entire space. So that was great. I was out there earlier, as many of you know. I went out there on Friday for the practice on Friday, and I made a post and I said this was a lot of fun. Like, the practice was a lot of fun. And it was the weather was perfect. We were at the Coliseum, the historic LA Coliseum. One thing important to note, and if you all follow and know Lake Lewis, you can tag Lake Lewis in this. There's all of these just amazing, just historical, I'm a sports geek. I'm a sports nerd. So once I just really realized, like, oh my gosh, I'm in the Coliseum. I've been to LA plenty of times. Never once did the Coliseum. I'm looking around at all of the information on the walls, all of the different pictures, all of the things, and realize the first NFL game played at the Coliseum, September 1946. It was the Rams and the then Redskins. Absolutely. I you know, SoFi is beautiful, but it's like the Coliseum. I was like, this is so rich in just history. And I don't know, Bill Krosky Merritt says dubs in the chat. I on this show, on Bowie TV, watching the Commanders update, I say love button and fire emojis in the chat. If that was new news to you, that the first NFL game, it was right there on the wall. It was the Rams and the then Redskins in 1946. I was in shock. I was like, really? In terms of SoFi, this was my second time at SoFi. I was there a couple years ago when the Washington Commanders took on the LA Rams. So this is my second time at SoFi. SoFi is great from an entertainment venue perspective. It's beautiful, but a football experience from the working side of it is a bit arduous. It's a bit difficult to maneuver and navigate. And with the Chargers organization, the Chargers and the Rams both play there, but now I've had the opportunity to experience how the Rams organization does things, how the Chargers organization does things. It was a little bit different. It was a little bit different. And I see there's already comments coming in the chat about Luke McCaffrey. Make sure you all that you're subscribed to Bowie TV. We do accept super chats and super thank yous and all of that as well. But make sure you all, just let's have some fun. Share this show with your Washington Commanders, loving family and friends. We're going to go ahead and get right on into the mix of some of your favorite people of the day and just some comments from the day. We don't necessarily have all of these pictures in order, but we're going to go through it anyway. And some of it may be duplicate, more pictures of others. This is Marshawn Lattimore after he recovered the forced fumble by Quan Martin. We're going to get into all of your favorite moments. Drop those in the chat as well. This is kind of how it all went down with Quan getting ready to punch that football out. So that was big moments for the secondary. We've been talking a lot about safety play, Quan Martin, Marshawn Lattimore. You did not hear Marshawn. This was a game where I literally said on the pregame, this could be a rough day for the secondary. Okay, this could be a rough day for the secondary. And absolutely, it wasn't. It was not. They were prepared in that regard. And Mama Waller has arrived, if everybody would like to say happy birthday to her. So that was an important point. We definitely saw some moments that could have been better, but Quan Martin was absolutely ready for the moment. Go ahead and drop in the chat. Let's go ahead and talk about this run game. And one important piece to the run game is the blocking of John Bates. I want to make sure John Bates gets his flowers as much as the team overall gets their flowers, because it was, you saw it. And we're going to get into some clips as we always do, but still just kind of giving out the flowers, fire emojis, love button, all in the chat so we can see this. We got some clips of when Debo got mauled. I'm glad they threw the flag when Debo got mauled. He's continuously doing a great thing. We had to put a picture of Tress in here. I'm going to tell you why this was important. I saw Tress after the game, like I see everybody after the game. And I told Tress, I said, Tress, let me tell you something real quick, okay? And as Commander's media room, right, everybody has their people, right? And vice versa. And you got your go-tos and all of that. But across the board, let's be very, very clear. When he, was hit on the roughing the kicker incident, I said, Tress, there's one person that they don't mess with. And they don't mess with Tress. We were ready to come down on the field for you, brother. That's what I told him. I said, because he said, you guys are great. But seriously, we were like, is Tress okay? Because if he is not, well, we got to do something about this. So we do end up all agreeing on that when it comes to Tress Way. So shout out to him. Glad he's doing well, everybody, by the way. these two, and we're going to get into JD5, and I've already mentioned Debo. Jaden Daniels, Debo Samuel continue to show that connection. Bill, the running back room, and Bill. Okay, put it all in the chat. Love button, fire emojis in the chat for Bill Krosky Merritt. Again, going back to JD5. Listen, one thing about, you all have heard me tell this story so many times on shows about Jaden Daniels, and about last year's Cincinnati game and just that spark that he brings and that he gives. And that spark, it was there. It was apparent. And I just think they needed they needed the juice. They needed the juice. And you all may have seen, again, I'm bringing up Lake again because I sat in between Lake and Donna and Sophie in the press box. And I made a comment. I was looking at the sidelines during the game, and I said, Jaden's got the glow. I said, I might be telling my age a little bit, but even still, the Last Dragon is a very popular movie, right? And let me just say, it was like he had the glow. And I was like, I don't know what's going to happen in this game, but he has the glow. And we ended up seeing it all come alive. It was some good stuff and some great moments from JD5 and the team overall. Another picture of Quan. I think this is from Atlanta. But some of you have already talked about Luke McCaffrey. Love button, fire emoji, thumbs up, hearts if you're on Facebook, thumbs up if you're on YouTube watching this live. Luke McCaffrey is really, listen, but this is what it is about. You've heard me talk since the summertime, you all, about the draft class, right? We've talked a lot about this draft class and who have all been solid and who have all had an outstanding moment so far through the first 5 weeks of the season. But I also mentioned, what are we going to see from the draft class from last year, right? The 2024 draft class, that this regime, their first class. What are we going to see with Terry being out, with Noah Brown being out? Wow. Luke has been showing and proving that catch, that moment, that connection between Jaden and Luke. And Commanders fans that were in the building, if you all didn't almost open up the roof on that one, I was Luke every week, and it's a confidence builder. He was so excited. As Coach Quinn continues to say about Luke, he's such a competitor. And if you notice, with Terry and Noah both being out the last 2 weeks, Debo hasn't been getting snaps on special teams. This has been the Luke McCaffrey and Jalen Lane show. So be paying attention to that. And then also with Luke making an impact on offensive snap plays, huge moment for Luke McCaffrey. Show him some love. Absolutely. In the background of this picture, you see 54 and 4. You see yin and yang. That is Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu. And we haven't really seen the gel as consistently throughout this season, but it's there. It's there. And it's on the come up and the comeback. Right here, this is a picture from the Raiders game. Jordan McGee. What a play for Jordan McGee and others as well, you all. We're trying to catch up with everybody. There's so many flowers and love button and fire emojis that we can give out to so many, but it was a delight, a true delight to see Jordan McGee get involved in the action. I had asked Coach Quinn back during preseason about Jordan because we know he's dealt with injuries throughout his time with the Commanders so far. But when he's on the field, when he's able to get out there and hey, he does it big. This is another picture. Again, this is after the Quan Martin forced fumble. Marshawn Lattimore recovered it. You see Mikey getting in it a bit. I recognized Mikey Samerstill last week. I'm recognizing him again. What a big play of the interception at the goal line. Johnny Newton. Did you all not hear Johnny Newton's name? Johnny Newton's name, also someone else to be paying attention to when we talk about last year's draft class. Excitement, and Von Miller. Ladies and gentlemen, Von Miller, yet another one of the Commanders players that people like to call old and talk about how old he is. But guess what? In his career, he has had a lot of success against the Chargers, and yesterday proved no different. Again, showing a just who he is. Like he said, he can get up out of the bed with his house shoes on and rush the passer. You saw a lot of that on yesterday. And again, here's another picture of 54-4, Bobby Wagner and Frankie Luvu, because I liked the picture and I thought it was nice. I said we want that one. So I would definitely, and I'm going to recognize this comment because I always get these comments, and shout out to the rally captain. Rally captain has always invited me and Lake Lewis and Donna Hopkins and all of us to the rallies. They have, and actually to this point of great photos by Darrell Owens, tagged Darrell and said that we were shouting him out on the show. Darrell did attend. He did attend the rally in Atlanta. I have not been to a rally yet. I have not. So I will try to get to one. And so I just, I'll make it to one, but I appreciate that comment. And so I think I mentioned Javon Kinlaw as well. You all know back during the summer, love button, fire emoji, thumbs up. If you all remember me talking extensively about Javon Kinlaw back during the summer. Okay. And I told him a couple weeks ago, Javon, thank you for making me look smart. And he gave me a compliment. He said, well, you are smart. First of all, let's be clear on that. You are smart. And I said, well, yes, well, that, but you are helping that expertise make me not look like I'm crazy. So, all good vibes. That's the space I would love for the fan base to stay in. Yes, there are things that can still be cleaned up, that need to be cleaned up. That first half started out a little rocky, started out a little shaky, but guess what? They came up with the W, right? And you started to see, especially as they closed out the first half, you started to see some of that juice, right? With, the defense making a play, getting the Chargers offense off the field. And then when the Commanders, the Chargers offense off the field, when the Commanders offense, when Jaden Daniels, they got back out there, it was a quick 3 and out. The defense made another play. The Commanders offense gets back on the field. They're able to take it down quickly, get the ball down there, spike the ball. Matt Gay makes a field goal. He's still making field goals. Okay, so give it up for Matt Gay. We had a picture for him last week. We're going to give it up for him again because he's still making field goals. This is a very important point. It's a very important piece of this process. So he's definitely still doing that. And then the Commanders got the ball back. And then we were able to see them do something that we would see them do all last year. And that was score when they opened up the half. Okay. And then they were like gone after that. One of the other things I wanted to mention too, it's a couple things on the pregame show, and always and tag the all burgundy and gold everything show, because those guys, they have me on every pregame. So if you all want to catch me on a game day, an hour before the game, I do a pregame show. So every single game. Now, some home games, I also do a postgame show. And then, we're all here. We come together here the day after the game at 7:30 as well. But one thing that I mentioned is Justin Herbert has got to have a quiet day, right? And we saw how little passing yards he had. So that's a good thing, because my concern was this could be a really tough day for the defense. It could be a really tough day for the defense, especially the secondary, and it was not. Okay, so that lets you know the defense was locked in. You definitely saw an explosive play to start things out. Okay, that 41-yard explosive play on the run by Justin Herbert, that hurt, and that immediately let you know, this isn't. But they were able to course correct from that adversity, right? We saw Bill fumble and course correct from that adversity. That's what you want to see. You don't want to make a moment the defining measure of the game. And that was some of the things that we saw all last year from the Washington Commanders. There would be mistakes. There would be things that happened for sure, but they kept fighting. You saw that, the bend don't break. You saw some of the things where even Marcus Mariota said a couple weeks ago after the Raiders game, we don't blink. So you saw that. And it's like, okay, that was a moment in time. They're making in-game adjustments, certainly adjustments at halftime, and they're going to do what they need to do to close this thing out. So good day on the up and up, Commanders fans. I hope you feel a bit better, because much of what we saw yesterday is what we're actually used to seeing with this team. And here's something else I said in the pregame. I said, last year, and I made this comment, I think, to David Harrison and Mitch Tischler. I said, remember last year, it was like every game, we didn't know what was going to happen. We were like, hey, at this point, we're just happy to be here. We're just doing our jobs, and this is going to be, we'll just see what happens. And they would just pleasantly surprise us. Now we have the expectation, because of what they're saying and based on what we know they can do and what their goals are. And I think in week five, yesterday was the day that I felt it. I said, okay, all right. And it felt a bit like how I felt in the Cincinnati game last year. Like, okay, they're on to something, right? They're on to something here. And let's see how it goes. But just a conversation of note, Commanders fans, drop in the chat. How confident are you all now going into Monday Night Football? Because I think that was the thing. It's like how they start out October. And, they talk a lot about, September football, October football, all of those things. I think these are all very, very, very important points. And it's hey, you saw it. And we're going to go ahead and get into some of the clips. Last week, and I'm looking here, last week, I asked a few questions, and I want to go back to the running backs. I really, really do. And I may have played these clips already, but I think this is so important. And I'm going to, because this was something else I talked to you all about back during the summer. It was this running back room. Love button, fire emojis in the chat. I want to go back to some of the questions I asked a couple weeks ago about what Coach Anthony Lynn is doing, what he shaped, how he's getting the running back room ready to rock and roll on game day. Check it out. Hey, Coach, when you look at your running back room, can you share about Coach Anthony Lynn and what he's done to prepare those guys for game day?
Yeah, he's been tremendous. I mean, a guy who's been a head coach, been a great play caller in this league. So played in this league for a long time, went to one of the greatest universities in the world at Texas Tech. So there's a lot of positives that he brings with him. But I just think his wisdom, his belief in those guys, and they're all different styles, and he knows how to maximize and use them and get the most out of each guy and what they do well. It's been really cool to see and just be around him, learned a lot from him.
I'm also going to share a clip from when I asked Coach Dan Quinn the same thing.
And yesterday I asked Cliff about Coach Anthony Lynn and what he's done to prepare the running back room. So what, from your perspective, what can you share as well?
Yeah, Anthony's an incredible story for those that don't know enough about him. Resilient, he's tough, he's demanding, but he's also somebody that played it, has lived it. He's got leadership experience from play caller to head coach. So at the position, step by step by step, like he just doesn't miss any of those. How do we drill it? How do we get to the next spot? Oftentimes with running backs, it's pass protection. Where are they? So Anthony, very detailed into that space. So we're really fortunate that he's here, not just as the running back coach, but just, on our staff, what he stands for.
I think it's absolutely tremendous. And it's one of those things where you're seeing it. Everyone should be able to see what Coach Lynn is bringing to the staff. Like Coach Quinn said, not just as the running backs coach, but what he's bringing to the staff and his knowledge for having played and coached, what he's bringing, because it is showing up. Is it not? Love button, fire emojis, all the things. It is absolutely showing up on game day in each and every single back, right? Then you have to look at its other groups as well, right? You see it in the offensive line. There's already been moves on the offensive line, everybody. There's been moves there. So you see what Coach Bobby Johnson is doing to get these guys ready to roll. So one of the things that I would always, I was actually posting about yesterday was stick with the run. It's working. Just let it go. Let it go. Let it do it. Do it. They can run, like seriously, and sticking with the run works. They got some good running backs, and I know everybody just loves Bill, and rightfully so. But the way that Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy Nichols are just they nobody is more elated for each one of them individually when they play well than each other. It is not a competition. It's great. And I see comments in the chat about, Sam Cosmi coming back, right? There's hope about, Terry McLaurin's return, potentially being more sooner rather than later. And I'm telling you, this offensive line unit, and that's without Sam Cosmi, and so when it works, that's what it should look like. And so it was something to say, and going back to the pregame show, I think I was asked about, well, is Jaden going to run or is Jaden going to do this? And I'm like, listen, as everybody could see, running is a part of his game. It's part of who he is. That's part of what makes JD5, because he can do so much. And going back to Jaden Daniels for a moment, we saw a lot of growth in Jaden. Coach Quinn talked about that in his press conference today. We saw him slide a little bit more. We saw him throw away the football a little bit more when it wasn't there. We saw it. And that's what you want to see, where you have a quarterback who's still growing. It's just year 2 for him. Okay. Remember, everybody, it's just year 2 for him. You're seeing him still grow, and they're still winning the football game. Super duper impressive. And it was just so much to kind of just see that overall comfortability in Jaden as well. I know a lot of people were, is he going to have difficulty running with the brace or this or that? Looked like everything was fine to me. He probably had more issues with the cleats. That's why he switched them out than he did with the brace. And I mean, he's got to wear, he's wearing a brace. So it kind of is what it is. Now, I want to go back to last week I asked Coach Quinn about communication, right? I asked him about Mikey Samerstill last week. So we saw Mikey, we saw the whole secondary get better this week, and we're going to get on that in a moment. But I asked Coach Quinn last week about it. Now, this is me pulling receipts. I asked him about the communication because that was a point of emphasis during the summer. Let's go back, listen to what his response was, then let's think about what we all saw against the Chargers. Hey there, Coach. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm pulling on the thread a bit about communication. That was a point of emphasis for you all, all summer.
Yes.
We talked about that quite a bit. So what are your thoughts on what could be happening and why that's not materializing in game?
Yeah, I think there's a fine line, Candi, between like trying to play perfect and hitting, communication and being loud on the go. By being perfect, what do I mean by that? Like sometimes a speed motion happens, being so careful that you're late on a communication. You're not quick on it to go. And so I really want our guys to really trust their training. They've put good work in and allow that to, fully be expressed and heard and acknowledged. There's not that many moving parts, with different people on the defensive side. So we want to make sure we can nail that. It could be as easy as communication could have been, you said it, did I receive it on a call when somebody's going quickly? It doesn't always mean like in motion or in the one. We had a pressure that didn't look as good. One player was doing one thing, thought he heard a different call or a different technique. So I just want to make sure they trust their training. Like we don't have too many different things up. Let's make sure like call it, let it rip, be aggressive.
So along with that, I know Coach Witt mentioned in his press conference about, too many people putting the capes on. And it's just, do the assignment. And listening to, going back then to what Coach Quinn shared with me when I asked that question. And thank you so much, Tina, for this compliment and say that I asked the best questions. Thank you. Truly. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask something because I want to see something, right? There's a problem. And I know that and I have a list of things. I have like an arsenal of questions. And sometimes the questions end up getting answered on the field. I'm like, well, I already know the answer to this question. I don't necessarily need to ask this one. Or something gets better or it's improved and I can mark that one off, at least for the moment, put it in the parking lot, right? Or it got answered in another question as well. But I keep a question. I have questions. And so that was something, and you have heard me say, those of you who have been watching the show for a long time, those of you who be maybe new to the show, I am looking for things to be improved. If I saw something during the summer or know that they worked on something in the summer, you still sit in September. And now we're in October. So now we're talking about October football, right? Now we're talking about October. It should be different or it should be improved. Okay. So communication, we know during the Falcons was a big thing. And we're going to get into, like, again, some more of that. Actually, I think right now we're going to get into some more of that because you can tell they worked on that thing. They worked on that because then once we start asking questions, you start to see a difference, in my opinion, right? A couple of weeks ago, I asked about Frankie Louvu, and you start to see Frankie getting better and better each week. You asked a question about Mikey Samerstill. Now that's starting to get improved because now everybody knows we're looking. Everyone knows we actually see it. We see it. And so I think that is just one of those kind of important points that we need to make sure we're staying on track with, because I don't ever want anything to get past me. If it gets past me, that's a problem. We never wanted to get past me. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and jump into some of the questions from today. In the press conference with DQ, it was a lot going on yesterday in LA after the game. In the words of Bill Krosky, Mary Dubs in the chat. So much needed win on the West Coast. But let's get into some of what Coach Quinn talked about today in his press conference.
And Dan, I think you mentioned it after the game. I know it was one game, but that looked like Commander football yesterday, and you mentioned it. Was that almost like a wake-up call to the rest of the team? Like, this is how we play. This is what it's supposed to look like going forward.
We want that to look like that all the time. And sometimes, like yesterday, I took that play of Quan. He was the one that set it off yesterday, Scott. But there is an attitude and a speed that we want to play with. It doesn't mean we're always going to play it perfectly or play it just right, but there's an intensity about how we play and when we're at our best. There's also there's a joy that goes with it. I think I saw that with Jaden as well. Here he's smiling as he's going through it, battling, but also this is a crew that they're connected, man. And so to see these guys want to fight for one another and get it right, that's a really important piece. So we'll have our work cut out for us, but that's you're leaning into the right things about our attitude, our effort, the way we play, and when we're that connected, we're a problem, and we're going to continue to work hard at that and really protect that.
When we're that connected, we're a problem. Love button, fire emoji in the chat if you caught that from Coach Quinn. When they're that connected, they are a problem. And I would like to say, Coach Quinn is correct. I think so. It's a consistency thing, which still isn't good, right? Because my thing is you consistently show up in a way. Now, in the NFL, as we have all seen, you just never know what you're going to get, honestly. But hey, when they are on their complementary football, when they are proactively addressing the issues in which their opponent presents, they're a pretty dangerous group. And you saw some of that. And it felt right. It felt right because it was something that we've seen before. Now, let's get into the next clip from Coach Quinn's press conference today.
Hey, Coach.
Hi, Donna.
Did you see yesterday the defense shift into another gear as far as better technique, tackling, and the trust even more of each other?
I think probably the last one, I think that came from communication. I heard it in practice during the week, extra emphasis onto that. We even did some different things. As opposed to using crowd noise, I did it just the opposite. So when they came to the line of scrimmage, there was no sound. So I wanted to hear them communicate verbally, non-verbally, to make sure they could talk ahead of the call. And so I thought that was a good sign to see that carry over, Donna, from practice into the game. And as coaches, you've heard the ones you get what you emphasize. And so we were emphasizing that hard, and that's what I saw going into it.
Now, that was very interesting. When you say, okay, normally we have the music going, but now I'm going to have we're going to hear a pin drop in here, okay? Because I want to know what you're saying. Maybe the music is too loud. And it could be something that's simple. I thought about that when Donna asked a question, so you can tag Donna, let her know I'm playing her question on the show. I was thinking about that. I said, well, it seems so simple, but maybe they can't hear each other. Maybe it's too loud. Maybe now, because now at this point, you have to communicate. It can't be quiet because you're evidently and obviously supposed to be talking. So it could have been something as simple as, do you just not hear each other? Do you not know what's going on? Was that what the problem is? Because that little trick might have worked. That just may have worked. Let's do this with no music, even though we know it's going to be loud in the stadium, that we need to understand what everyone is saying instead of acting like we got it and we knew what you said. Okay, let's move on to the next clip. Drop any questions you have in the chat to me as well. I'm open to asking questions, able to ask questions again. At this point, I know it's Monday and I don't even know what time of day I'm really on, but that's a conversation for a whole nother day. But let's move on to another question. This one is again from Donna Hopkins.
And Debo talked a little bit about Mikey. He said that Mikey said last week, I think I'm going to get a pick. and he actually did get the pick. Did they work on any technique things as far as, I know you said that you wanted to see more turnovers last week? Did they practice a little bit more on certain things in getting turnovers?
We certainly practiced it a lot, but what did happen in practice, there were more chances at the ball, and I saw them being more aggressive toward that Thursday and Friday, in both of those to go. And so it doesn't surprise me that Mike was right in the middle of it. Thought he had his best tackling game. He had one on kickoff. He fit in the run well, but he's got great hands, and so for him, it wasn't the over trying. It's be in the right spot, and you can make all the plays. And I thought that was a good example of that in the red zone where he sat, he waited. Johnny got a good tip on it, but he had vision on the QB, so he wasn't guessing to go right or left. He really just nailed it, and I thought that was a real one, big deal in the game because that led into what turned out to be a 4-minute drive at the end. And that's the complementary football, Donna, that we're looking for. When a turnover takes place, can we go capitalize off it?
Absolutely. They have to capitalize on the turnovers. They got to make something happen out of those turnovers. They got to be aware. With Coach Quinn sharing that Mikey had that vision on the quarterback, I actually had to chuckle because I said, Mikey looked like he was surprised he got the football. Like it was, it bobbled there for a minute. And he, but he got it. He got it. And that's the important point of it all. And so you saw it. We all saw the glimpse of it. We saw the shimmer of it. And even though it's not like the Commanders haven't won a game all season, right? This is their third win of the season. So we've seen them win football games, but it was still like, all wasn't there. But it was good. And there were aspects that were good. You start to feel like, at least for me watching it, it's like you start to feel like, now I recognize these people. Now I recognize all of this. I recognize a lot of this. So that is where, for me, I was like, the felt right sort of deal. So what we're going to do now, we're going to play 2 more clips from today's press conference with Coach Quinn. And then we're going to go backwards. We're going to play a question that I asked Coach Quinn last week. Definitely ask me questions in the chat. I will try to get to as many as I possibly can. But let's move. I had 2 questions today. One was on Bobby Wagner. The other was on collaborative decision-making in game. Check them out. Hey there, Coach. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Going back to the linebacker group, I know last week after the Atlanta game, you got a few questions about Bobby Wagner and the number of defensive snaps that he gets. But from your perspective, what is the importance of Bobby Wagner to this defense on game day? I know we talk about him a lot as a leader, but can you share, what he brings on game day?
Well, I think there's a tackling presence. When you're playing linebacker, Candi, you're right in the middle of it all. And you're going to be involved in as many plays, that involve tackling, not just in the tackle box, but outside of it. And so I like that the instincts he has. And a little bit like playing quarterback, there's, alignments, adjustments to move somebody to, put somebody into a different spot. There was times yesterday where it was going quickly that he always has the green light. Hey, you make the call, where it's not waiting, for Joe to go if they're going quickly. And so as long as he knows the personnel, he's got that kind of instincts, Candi, that he can take that on as well when the times are appropriate.
So, fun fact, I knew that, right? I knew that, what he said, and I just needed it to be confirmed for me, even, right, publicly. Like, tackling, intellectually understanding the personnel, able to make the decision, right? Those are very, very, very important points that when things are fast and they're moving quickly, you may not have time to wait for the call to come down. You got to move because you got to be ready when the offense is ready, but in a smart way. But that's still a confirmation because the head coach is now telling you, right? Coach Quinn and I had that conversation prior to. And again, in my question, it was, yeah, yes, we know exactly what he brings from a leadership perspective in the locker room and just the overall brotherhood. But I thought it was important to ask the question about from a on the field on game day, what does he do? Very, very well. What does he do? That needed to be confirmed for me. Like, what does he do? Not that I didn't know, but I'm just saying it. You ask the question because it needs. Someone needs to publicly explain it so you can understand, because there's so many pieces and facets of the game that needs to be explained. You'll understand everybody's role and the importance of the role. Now, one thing that he said, and I've shared this with you all before, you got Jaden Daniels on offense, but you got Bobby Wagner on defense. That is your quarterback. That is your quarterback. He is your quarterback. And there are certainly moments, and I definitely saw it yesterday, and I'm smiling a little bit here, where I see he and Jay, they are talking, and it's not like jokey joke, brother. This business, right? Hey, you got me? I got you. I got you. All right, let's get it. And it's a real thing. Okay, the quarterbacks are talking, right, about what they need to get it done while they're at home. When you talk about halftime, and then you talk about who the first people out of the tunnel are, when the half is ending and everybody's coming up, it's two people. First two lead everybody out. It was Bobby Wagner and Jaden Daniels. I already knew. I said they're gonna close this thing out because they are at home. Chargers are at home, but no. Those two, they are at home, and they're gonna make this count. So that is absolutely why he's out there, and a lot of people need to understand the importance of that, because that would be the equivalent of, oh, well, just take Jaden out, sometime, every time. Just go ahead and take Jaden out. If you don't have to, and if you can't in some instances, you won't. Because you see so much happening, and you think about the different pieces in the personnel where when things have to move fast, this is how you got to move. This is how you got to move. So with that being said, I then followed up with this question to Coach Quinn on collaborative decision-making in game, because we talked a lot about that in the past, about what that looks like, but what does that look like in game? And kind of maybe pulling on that thread a little bit more in terms of the decision-making, we've often, talked about in the past about the collaborative decision-making when it comes to a preparation for the game, but in game, can you give an example of what that collaborative decision-making looks like?
Sure. Might be after a series when something comes up, we're all ask a player, hey, against this look, let's go to this. Against this person, let's go to that. And so as the game goes, Candi, then you hear them start talking more. Watch for this, look for this player, expect this route. And so often in the beginning of the games, you're gathering the information. And then during the game, you see the guys, whether they're on the sideline, looking at the iPad, looking at formations. If you and I were playing the same position, I would share the same information to you, and then you would do it back to me when we're not, in at the same time. So that would be the best example of, hey, these are some things that are come up. That's just what I saw, so they can pass it on to the next person that sees it.
Thank you. So I always think it's important, right, for myself to be educated and know what's going on, because I can guess or I can think that's what it is, but I still need the confirmation, right? If I'm doing journalism and investigative reporter, I don't necessarily want to just shoot out there and say, this is what I think is happening. No, let me ask what's happening, right? And Coach gave me a great example of that. So much appreciative on that. Also want to acknowledge this comment. Thank you so much to Manders Nation for tuning in, and the compliment. Absolutely appreciate it. Thank you so much. You all still have time to share this show with your Washington Commanders loving family and friends. Make sure you are subscribed to Bowie TV on YouTube. If you are in the Prince George's County, Maryland area, and you have not cut your cable, you can find us on Comcast channels 190 and 1097. You can find me on X at CWall SE, Candi Waller, Bowie TV. You can follow Bowie TV all across all socials, all of the things. In the words of head coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, I ain't hard to find. So you all can find me absolutely. Now, for the last clip I'm going to show this evening, I believe, it was a question from last week. Okay. And when you're listening to head coach Dan Quinn respond to this, it was the question around, okay, it's October, right? So the difference in September football and October football, because we talked about the September football, and September football didn't end so great. Didn't end so great in Atlanta. So now what does this look like? What if you come out 2-2, which isn't bad, which isn't hard. I mean, it's not the best case scenario. Best case scenario is 4-0. But guess what? 2-2, it's okay. 500, all right. But what does now October look like? I asked Coach Quinn about this, and I want you all to keep your notebook out. Make sure you're always doing what? Using your clues. The using your clues doesn't stop everybody. Okay. Now, sometimes the answer is just what the answer is. Don't read too much in it. It's just take it very literally. It is what it is. And other times I'm going to say, listen, use your clues on this one, because now we can all take a listen and a watch to Coach Quinn's response and see if that is what we're seeing in October. Check it out.
Hey, Coach. So you've mentioned, September football. So now it's October. So what does October football, what's been the message around what you want to see this month?
Yeah, I think the execution, honestly, Candi, that's the big thing. I want to make sure the energy home road in terms of, how we want to play. And somebody brought up starting fast to me. Starting fast doesn't mean a touchdown on the first drive or a 3 and out. It's a speed and intensity and urgency to go. So I don't want to confuse what that would look like. But I do want to see the execution really, start to dig in. We've had 4 games together. Roles have now begun to emerge. And so, it's a good month to go really dig in to go get better. And now that some of those roles have emerged, that's a big deal for it. Some guys have had to step in, and I've liked what I've seen in some of those instances, Candi, to see guys step up when the injuries take place, knowing that that's a part of it, and the opportunity came early for some of the players, and so it's nice to see them deliver and show and express themselves. Hey, man, I can help, I can do these things, and so I think that's been a big piece of it.
So far, just the first game of October, but is looking at the execution of it, looks like it came together a bit in LA. Now they'll have a lot to it's a lot on Monday night. Okay. And absolutely drop in the chat if you have any questions for me. I will take a few moments to answer any questions that you may have. Chicago, I believe, is on a bye this week. They were on a bye last year when they came into town. I think they're looking better. I think Caleb Williams is looking better. But this is, if you've watched my show over the summer, this was one of the games. I had Atlanta circled. The division games are given, always circled, right? But I had Atlanta circled. That unfortunately checked the box because I was like, well, who Atlanta was going to come out blazing because they had a chip on their shoulder, I'm sure. And if there's any team that has a chip on their shoulder, I've been talking about Chicago, and I've been talking about Detroit, and then a sleeper game has been the Denver Broncos, and I guess I probably shouldn't close my eyes to Seattle either, right? But this is another game that I'm sure has been circled on everybody who was a Chicago Bear last year for the Hail Mary game, as well as Ben Johnson. Right? Was the new head coach of the Chicago Bears. And so I see a question that has come in about how confident do you feel in our defense going up against a motion heavy offense like Chicago. Hey, listen, it's going to be a hard game. It was last year. It was a hard game offensively for the Washington Commanders. And if we all can't act like we don't remember that if it wasn't for the Hail Mary and a mistake by the Chicago's defender, maybe more that than the Hail Mary, right? Because that helped the Hail Mary. The Washington Commanders very easily could have lost that football game. That was a hard day. And at that point in time in the season, we had seen a strong offensive showing by the Washington Commanders so far the season. It could be a number of things why that game didn't go so well offensively, but they, you know, this question is about the defense, but they're going to have a better offensive game than they did last year against the Bears, because Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams are going to make you pay for it if it's not. Okay, if anybody wants to get, if they want to get in a shootout at this point, they want the shootout. They want all of the smoke going. You have to remember, Caleb Williams is from this area, so I'm pretty sure he's like, I need my town back. Okay, Jaden Daniels came in town. Like, I saw how the crowd reacted to Jaden Daniels when he was at home. Okay, they love him in LA. The city is his, and so whoa, okay, and all right, I get it, I dig it a whole lot. He was like, Jaden came to my town and won and stole hearts. And nah, I need those back. And so it's going to be. I'm more so looking at the offense engagement here, because the defense is going to have a hard time. The line of scrimmage battle. When we all see this, and I'm going to keep saying this, when you're winning in the trenches, good things will happen for everybody else. But you have to win at the line. You have to. They know that Caleb is fast. They know he can scramble. They know all of these things, and they know Ben Johnson is uber creative. So they're going to use all of their weapons, even potentially more so than the Atlanta Falcons used theirs. It's not going to be new news for them at all. But chip on your shoulder when you come into town is a real thing. So everybody just needs to play like they have an attitude, at least for those 60 minutes. I hope I'm answering your question. But for those 60 minutes, everybody need to act like they got an attitude problem. Okay? And they're going to have to get to Caleb early and often, because he looks very good. He looks very good. And again, they were coming off a bye last year. They're going to be coming off a bye, I think. Right? I think they're on a bye. They're coming off another bye. But don't sleep on that to make like, oh, well, it could be the same thing. No, you got, and not only that, it's going to have to look convincing, right? You played a solid half of what looks like, and we all mirror and recognize as Commanders football. Now you got to go back. You got to try to play a whole game like this. It's a primetime game. Everybody is going to be watching the sequel of this battle, because it was really the Hail Mary. And I so remember after that game, I think I've told you all this story in the past. You know, I had to go to the press conference, because sometimes I don't go to press conferences right after the game. Sometimes I do, and sometimes I just listen. Sometimes I go and ask questions. Others, I'm in the locker room, getting sound bites, quotes, understand a little bit more about what I watched. But that was a game that I happened to run into DQ in the hallway, and I was like, all right, I gotta go. I'm gonna just go to this, okay? His press conference. And I was like, okay, you all won the football game, but offensively, like, this just wasn't, what we've been used to seeing already in the season. And he answered my question great about, hey, yeah, this doesn't look like our brand of football. Right? We got to work on some things. And so this isn't the game you want to be working on it. You got to have this figured out, because there's people over there that would love. I mean, Olamide's the kids is over there. Don't forget Montez. So there's some people over there that, hey, but when playing at home, playing your former team is always going to be a thing, right? You always want to make a statement, and this very well could be a statement game for Caleb and for Ben Johnson as well. It should be good. It should be very good. But I would like for the Commanders to ensure that it's good, because you don't want to get out there, anybody, and start watching on Monday Night Football. And this is like, okay, now we're back to who are these folks? Who are these people? Thought we were past this. So complimentary football as much as possible, and mistake free as much as possible. Things are going to happen. One thing that we haven't really talked about in this episode, was talking about a lot early on, is that pre-snap penalties are still a challenge. They're still an issue. You got to get to the bottom of that, because while again, Jaden and the run game and these big plays are able to dig them out of some pre-snap penalty holes, you don't want to get into that, because depending on who you're playing, they're going to make you pay for those. They really, really are. So we'll see what happens. I think everybody should be excited about it, especially after the Commanders win. It feels a lot better, even if I must say so myself, of them going into this game Monday night, playing how they played. It feels a lot better, and they will be home. They will be home, have not been home in a couple weeks. So they will be in their home stadium. And I know Washington Commanders fans, you are going to show up and show out like you have been very consistently doing thus far. So it should be a good one. It should be a good one. So you all, thank you so much for turning in. As I said, tuning in. This is the Washington Commanders Update, a live Bowie television recording. I hope if you had not already, you are now subscribed to the channel. You're locked in. You know exactly where to find us. Definitely tune in. We're posting Commanders content all the time. As you can see, look around. There's plenty other content, a lot of other shows that we have as well. We would love, 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 love to have you. So thank you all so much. At some point, I have to catch up on some sleep and get back on Eastern Standard Time. But you all, thank you so much. And I will be talking to you all again very soon.